Hey guys, in this session let us learn about a scenario related to database name change. Here application team is requesting for the DBA to change the name of the database due to business requirement, and they ask the DBA to change the name of a test database. So always there will not be any requirement related to database name change on production database. It is critical, right? So that's the reason we always get requests for QA development or test databases, right? So current database name is SQL DB and new database name is DB9ZX. Okay, so probably your database name will be DB9ZX, so you can change your database name to SQL DB. That's fine. Okay, so just for this scenario I have swapped the name of the database, and let me just show you how to do that. So first check the status of the instance. So currently the instance is up and running. So what we have to do is we have to check the database name. Show parameter DB name. So we just collect these details. Okay, so now we can just ask for the downtime for this particular database, right? So downtime is required for this scenario. Why? Because we need to change the DB ID in the control file and also in all the data files. Okay, so we are going to rewrite the DB ID and DB name on the header of the control file and data file. So that's the reason we need to bring down the database. So just assume that downtime is started. Okay, just create a change window for bringing down the database. So this depends on each and every project's SLAs and their process. Okay, so downtime started. So what we do is we bring down the instance. So before that, even if we take a backup of the database, that does not help. Why? Because the current DB ID is different, and when we change the name of the database, DB ID will be different. Okay, so before that also make sure that you collect the DB ID from the database. Okay, so that's why I'm again starting up. So this is just for information. Just collect it. So I would request to take a backup before we rename the database. So if automatic tape backup is scheduled, then that's not a problem. But if you are taking manual backup, then just use rman to take a backup. Now I have brought down the database instance. So what we can do is we have to mount the database. So once we mount the database, just exit. So there is a utility called NID. Okay, so this utility makes our life easier to rename the database. So we have to specify the arguments in the parameters. Okay, so these are the arguments that we are going to specify. Okay, target will be slash and DB name will be the new DB name. Okay, so you can also simply execute this NID and check the parameters under this utility. So we have multiple parameters: target, DB name, so log file where we can specify the output, and if there is a failure then we can roll back the changes. In case if there is a failure, we have to specify revert is equal to S. Okay, and set new name. Set name is the parameter only for new database name. Okay, and append. So these are self-explanatory. Okay, so we are going to append something new to the output log. Okay, so currently we are going to rename an existing database which was already running, right? So all the data files are grown and lots of data are coming into the database, right? So earlier it already a lot of data came into the database, and we are going to rename this database now. So now let me execute this command. So it will prompt to change the DB ID and the database name. Okay, this is the current database name and this is the new database name. So we can confirm by typing yes. So S means Y. So here you could see that the name of the database is changed in the control file, right? So this is the message. So new DB ID is returned to the control file header and also the data file headers, right? So at last we can see that database name has been changed to this one, and we have to change the password file before restarting. Okay, otherwise we will get some error. So database ID for this particular database is changed, right? So also whatever backups that we taken and also the archive logs that were taken are useless. Why? Because database ID itself is different now. So if we try to restore those backups into this new database name, there may be a mismatch between the DB ID, right? Also database is not aware of previous backups, so this is expected, and we need to open the database with reset logs, right? Why? Because we changed the DB ID. So this is kind of creating a new database when we change the DB ID. So that's why we need to open the database with reset logs. Okay, so now we will start up the database in mount state. So before that, we have to change the database name in SP file. Okay, why? Because we already changed the DB ID and database name in the control file and data file, but we have not changed NID utility will not change the DB name parameter in SP file. So we will get an error when we start the database in mount state. Aura 1103. So this is also expected. So don't get overwhelmed. So what we have to do is alter system set the new DB name and scope will be SP file. So this error says that database name is changed in control file, but it is not changed in SP file. That's it. So there is a mismatch between the database name in the control file and SP file. So SP file is forcing the database to start with the old database name. Okay. So now let me change the parameter and again start up the database in force mode. So we need to open the database in reset logs. Why? Because we changed the DB ID. Now we have restarted the database and also resetted. So now we have changed the name of the database. So if we just check this value, both are different, right? DB ID is different and database name is different. Okay, so this is how we can change the name of the database with NID utility. Also, you can check these parameters, right? So if we are using DB link, also make sure that global names parameter is also changed. Okay, so currently we don't have any database links set in the database, but you need to make sure that as per your project there may be other configuration files where this particular database name is not set, right? In all configuration files, older database name will be set, right? If we if we are not manually changing those parameters, right? So this is one of the examples. Say for example, if I just set this global names as true, so that means that there will be a lot of remote databases which has DB links pointed over this particular database name, which is SQLDB. This is the older name of the database. So if all those DB links are pointing to SQLDB, to the older database name, then all those transactions may fail, right? That's the reason we need to change the name of the global names like this. Alter database, global names, set the new name. This is the old name, so set the new name like this. Okay, so this is a syntax error, but you have to refer to the documentation to change this global names. So this is one of the scenario. Also, if you have other configuration files set then you need to change all those parameters. So say for example, if I'm using Orman tape backups, right? So even in Orman also, you could see that the database name is changed and DB ID is also changed. So in this case, if there is a tape backup which is pointing to this, which is pointing to older DB ID, then all those backups may get failed, right? So as per your backup vendor, you need to modify the configuration files with the new name, right? So this is another example.